with Hunter Biden. We do not see the curiosity in your party about the questions surrounding President Biden that we do the questions surrounding President Trump. Do you have concerns about the payments to his family, and do you believe you need to show people you're doing it fairly?
Okay, well, let's start with your first point. Recall that the argument that was made by Senator McConnell and a bunch of other Republicans who voted to quit was not that Donald Trump was innocent. On the contrary, he said that he was factually, ethically, morally responsible for everything that happened that day, but he didn't think the Senate had jurisdiction to try a former president, which cut against 2 centuries of precedent. But in any event, it was a procedural argument he was making. And he went on to emphasize that Donald Trump would have to face prosecution by criminal authorities as well as civil prosecution. And that was the argument everybody was making, including Trump's own lawyers were saying, well, if there was really a crime committed, well, then of course he should be prosecuted. Now they're saying you can't prosecute him because he's a former president. It's like a game of 3-card Monte. He can never be held responsible for anything because there is indeed a 2-tiered system of justice, one that applies to every other American and then one applies to Donald Trump, which is he can never be found guilty of anything. He can never be tried for anything because they always invent a special rule that would exempt him. Now, as for Hunter Biden, I am totally for law enforcement, including the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney for Delaware, who's in charge of that case, David Weiss, proceeding with that case and pursuing it. And we leave it to the justice system. We're not attacking the prosecutors. We're not attacking the judges. Joe Biden isn't out there saying, how dare you prosecute the son of a former president? The Democrats are leaving it alone. It's only Donald Trump and his party that are constantly attacking the Department of Justice, the FBI, law enforcement, anybody who would dare to uphold a neutral system of justice. That's dangerous. That does take us down the road of authoritarianism.
Do you think that Democrats should be calling for the president to address the questions, especially in a campaign year when they're going to be weaponized against him? If only the one about all the payments to different members of the family and how he explains that. I mean, that's the big question mark, I think, that is going to be developed in the election. Should you be calling on him to do it as a point of leadership?
Well, Chris, I mean, I've been on the oversight committee for 8 or 9 months now under Republican rule. All they've talked about is Hunter Biden and his laptop and Burisma and the Chinese government and so on. They have not laid a glove on Joe Biden. There's just no connection to Joe Biden. And in fact, Lev Parnas, who is Rudy Giuliani's right-hand man, who spent 2 years gallivanting the earth looking for some dirt on Joe Biden, said there's nothing there. It just doesn't involve him. Hunter Biden was obviously trying to exploit his family name in the thick of his drug addiction to get business deals and to collect as much money as possible. That's obvious to any fair-minded observer, but that doesn't touch Joe Biden. And they have not laid a glove on President Biden. So I know Donald Trump is looking for a way to establish some kind of false moral equivalency between Donald Trump's actual crimes he's been indicted for and Joe Biden's conduct, which, as far as we know, involves no criminal conduct at all. And you just have to listen to the people who are trying to get him for all those years saying, call off the wild goose chase. That's a quote from Lev Parnas, who was Rudy Giuliani's guy.
Right. Listen, I mean, this is, this is a complex situation. The piece you take, as far as we know, it's also because the president hasn't really addressed it, other than to say, I didn't know about what my son was doing, and there's proof that cuts both ways on that. But the payments to the family members have nothing to do specifically with the Ukraine prosecutor situation. That's what Lev Parnas is talking about. That's one rabbit hole. But the payments to the family, Congressman, if you switch that D with an R, you'd want to know why so many members of that family got payments. And if they can be explained, great. But silence should not be accepted when it comes to these kinds of things.
Well, hold on a second, because we are opposed to political corruption in our party. We are the party of democracy. We're opposing Donald Trump, who personifies and embodies corruption, the theory that government should be the private property of the guy who gets in to enrich himself and his family. Why don't you ask why the Republicans are not interested in the millions of dollars that Donald Trump pocketed from foreign governments, including China, including Saudi Arabia, including the United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, Egypt, right down the list to the golf courses, the hotels, the private trademark deals.
His son-in-law. his daughter.
I would tell you
Yeah, so we talk about it all the time. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of News Nation's fact-driven coverage.